Let's look at the difference between top-down and bottom-up processing.
So this is probably one of my favorite topics.
So, what is bottom-up processing? Bottom-up processing basically begins with the stimulus. So let's imagine that we're looking at something, or let's say I'm looking at a banana. The banana is sitting there and it influences what we perceive. So stimulus influences what we perceive, our perception. So if I know absolutely nothing about something, then the stimulus or whatever it is that I'm looking at, yet I don't know anything about, I've never seen it, I don't have any preconceived cognitive constructs about what it is I'm looking at, the stimulus basically is influencing my perception. So, for example, let's imagine that I'm looking at a cockpit of a plane. I'm not a pilot, so I'm not really too familiar with everything, and everything kind of looks fairly confusing. So basically, all the different stimuli, so this stimulus, a bunch of gauges and this rudder-looking thing, I'm basically looking at all the different little parts of something that is new and novel to me and trying to kind of comprehend what it is that I'm looking at. So this is bottom up. This is when you start with no preconceived idea of what it is that you're looking at and allow the stimulus to influence your perception of what it is that you're looking at. So bottom up processing is data driven, and your perception of what it is that you're looking at directs your cognitive awareness of the object. So in contrast, top down processing basically uses your background knowledge. So it uses your background knowledge to influence perception. So let's look at this example over here. So what we're actually seeing are a bunch of circles. They're just a bunch of circles, and then inside the circle there are a couple of lines drawn. So we're looking at this set of circles, these white circles with lines drawn inside of them. We're creating this cube. We're basically taking these lines and then putting them together in order to create a cube. Even though the stimulus itself, which is the circles with the lines, actually doesn't draw a cube because there are these black spaces over here and there's absolutely nothing in the black spaces, but our brains are basically taking this information and using our knowledge of cubes and what they're supposed to look like, we're recreating a cube despite a lack of a cube actually being present in the image. So that's top-down processing, is using your background information, your background knowledge, your learning, your expectations in order to influence what it is that we're perceiving. So in other words, it's theory-driven. We look at this and we assume that they're trying to represent a cube even though one's not actually drawn there. And we're using that theory in order to shape our cognitive understanding of what it is that we're looking at. So our perception, our behavior is influenced by our expectations, which is top-down processing. So we're using what's already in our heads in order to perceive what it is that we're looking at. Whereas in bottom-up processing, we're using the stimulus itself in order to drive our perception. So another good example of top-down processing would be Where's Waldo? So in Where's Waldo, we have a mental idea of what we're trying to do, which is to find Waldo amidst this really jumbled mess of a picture. So if we were using bottom-up processing in order to look at this, we would just be seeing a whole bunch of little people and we wouldn't really be goal-driven. We wouldn't be trying to do anything. But with top-down processing, we have a goal and we're able to look through here to find Waldo.
Okay, so I really want to talk about the different situations that this guy brought up. I really like the example of the cube because conceptually, when we're going to answer a question of the MCAT, if it has to come down to a question between determining whether it's bottom up or top down, we have to understand very clearly what each means in accordance to a situation. So if I have a question that says, how was Jacob able to determine that this was a cube without a cube actually being there? And so the argument here is that it's top down because we have to understand what a cube is first, hence background knowledge, to influence our perception of something that's not a cube. So it's something that we actually have to know already, and it's something that we have to understand, um, and it can apply to a certain situation like this. Bottom up. Okay, let's see. I forgot what he said about the wall, though. Let me just.
People, and we wouldn't really be goal driven. We wouldn't be trying to do anything. But with top down processing, we have a goal and we're able to look through here to find Waldo.
Okay, so again, this is another top-down processing. Um, the reason why is because what is our goal, right? Our goal is to find Waldo, right? Um, that's the argument there. If I have a situation where I'm trying to find something, um, it's best that we look. If we have a situation where we're trying to find something, that's the top minded process of, okay, what does Waldo look like? Let's find Waldo, and we're using what we know to influence our perception of what we see, right? It's kind of like a hardcore understanding in accordance to what we see there. Bottom up, on the other hand, is kind of not what we want to kind of understand, for the MCAT. And the reason why is because in the MCAT, for examples like this, right, there's only so much we can create, right? Because data creates perception and creates background knowledge. And so the whole point of the MCAT is that that knowledge is already there. The background knowledge is already there. It's up to you to use the official material and the official processes, the official top-down knowledge, um, in acquiring that kind of knowledge, right? Again, it's the MCAT is who wrote the exam. You have to use their top-minded mindset.